So, hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Sleep Podcast. Today we have Vinitha ma'am with us. Vinitha ma'am is the founder and CEO of Bluepurple Private Limited, and she has also mentored and coached many startups in Kerala Startup Mission and other startup ecosystems. Hi, ma'am.
Hello, Nitin. Thank
Hi.
you for inviting me here.
Yes. We actually met ma'am yesterday. ഇന്നലെ നമ്മളൊരു പാലക്കാട് ഇവന്റിന് പോയിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. This young entrepreneurs forum, and that's where we met, ma'am. She's a very vibrant personality, so we're very happy to have you here. Yeah.
Okay, vibrant. Fine. Sure. Yes.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about sleep and, general ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളായിരിക്കും. Just sleep നെ പറ്റി and how much of a good sleeper you are, how sleep is important to you and things like that, right? So yeah, how important is sleep to you, ma'am?
Very good question. Actually, when you ask me, I'm thinking about it, honestly. Right? How important is sleep? Very, very important. Integral part of your life. How important is sleep for me? Same answer. Very, very important, integral part of my life. Right? Because so there was a time when I've been blamed by many people that why do you sleep 8 hours? Yeah, you don't need to sleep 8 hours. It is too much of a sleep. Cut it down to 5 to 6 hours and be more productive. I've been told by many people. But then for me, I always propagate that I need 8 hours of sound sleep. Otherwise, I cannot function. I get upset in the morning. My mood changes. My behavior changes. You don't want to face that. So from college or I think from my childhood, I have been someone who has loved sleeping like a hobby and sleeping like you say sleeping like a child, right? I think I still continue to do that. Adulthood has become a little more tedious in terms of sleep deprivation, but I think I'm managing somehow. Yeah. So to your question, integral part of my life.
I see, I see.
Yes.
So like whenever like ഇപ്പം നമുക്ക് എന്തായാലും മാം ഭയങ്കര ബിസി ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പേഴ്സൺ ആണ്. So when you're juggling many things at a time, right? ഈ ഒരു ബിസി ഷെഡ്യൂൾ ആകുമ്പോൾ sometimes your sleep might get sacrificed a bit, right? അപ്പോൾ ഈ പ്രൊഡക്ടിവിറ്റി അല്ലെ ഡിസിഷൻ മേക്കിങ്ങിലോട്ടൊക്കെ വരുമ്പോൾ അല്ലെ ക്രിയേറ്റിവിറ്റി ലീഡർഷിപ്പ് അങ്ങനത്തെ ക്വാളിറ്റീസിൽ വരുമ്പോൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഈ സ്ലീപ്പിന്റെ ലാക്ക് ഓഫ് സ്ലീപ്പ് എങ്ങനെയാണ് എഫക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? അല്ലെ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ചേഞ്ച് തോന്നാറുണ്ടോ? When you're not getting good enough sleep, right?
Actually, ഞാൻ you call me a very busy person, but as an entrepreneur I would say I'm not someone who juggle around too much. I keep myself on priority and I ensure that what I can carry is what I do, and I think that was a core focus of why I became an entrepreneur. First of all, right, when I moved out of corporate life to an entrepreneurship, the primary aspect of it was that I take care of myself. Self care was the most important part in that, and that is not diluted till today. Second, but we are humans. We do have our own anxieties. We do have our own natural phenomena which happen in us physically, emotionally, and mentally. So sometimes you do get sleeplessness, not because you're busy but because there are too many things going on in your brain, right? You want to really think, how do you for example, right,
Yeah.
will I actually wake up tomorrow is a good question I ask every time before I sleep, right? And sometimes it becomes very productive as a question, sometimes it gives me anxiety as a question,
Yeah.
right? And then what happens is, because we also have people, our loved ones around us, there is a lot of stress involving them in our life, right? For
Mhm.
example, my mom and my dad, my daughter, my husband, all of them, whenever there is a stress in the family, it starts affecting us, including my pet, who's a golden retriever. He is sick, then I feel very stressed about it. So I think that is where the sleep patterns get impacted. And not because you call it very busy. At least for me, I am not that person who is busy all the time. Yeah. Uh, the second part of what you asked, how does it impair the decision making and your thought processes in the entire day long?
Yeah.
Of course, it has an impact because it doesn't. One night, probably a sleeplessness would be fine, but a 2 day will have its own impact, and the third day is disaster, right? And It means that you do not know how to keep yourself awake and how to bring in clarity of thought. You do not know how to actually take decisions in a more logical and an emotionally balanced way, right? And so you tend to swing between these two and your decisions sometimes. And because I'm also a little an entrepreneur, I would like to believe that whatever decisions I take are the best decisions, and that's a bias I have towards myself, right? But over a period of time, when you sacrifice your sleep for many things, I wouldn't suggest that the decisions what come out is going to be always spot on. It is not going to be like that. Yeah, that's a given outcome when you have a sleep deprivation. My main problem in terms of these decision making comes, for example, I'll tell you, my family, part of my family lives in Singapore. So every time I travel to Singapore, it's a red eye, which means I travel overnight, and I reach there early morning Singapore time, 2.5 hours ahead of India. Not a largely different in time zone, but of course there is a little bit of issue there. And then what happens is, as soon as I get down in the airport in Singapore and I go home, which is like 1.5 hours drive from the airport, I start having my mood swings, right? And I reach home, and then I am not waking up my daughter or my husband or my my dog, none. And I just want to go and crash somewhere. And what really happens is, unless you do that, and I've tried not to do that, because many people have told me that don't do that, stay all through the night, all through the morning, and then sleep in the regular time, so that your time zone gets adjusted. And that's what we do when you do a travel across to Europe or US, or whenever we do an 18 hours journey, we kind of try to stay awake, and then we kind of connect back to the time zone where we've actually landed to. We may feel it's appropriate, but in my mind, I think somewhere your rhythm gets very confused, right? And for me, if my body says you're tired, you need to rest, and rest in a great way is actually sleeping. I just access it and I go to sleep. I don't care what time it is, when it is, where it is, right? And I think that kind of helps you to maintain a healthy emotional and a logical brain over a period
Mm.
of time, which allows you to take a decision far more meaningful,
I
right?
see.
Whatever we do. So I know it's a long answer, Nathan, but it is what it is. Yeah, go on.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. So you have like mentored many startups, right? From Kerala Startup Mission, right? So ഈ സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്സിന്റെ കേസിൽ വരുമ്പം like I think will go through a lot of stress, right? They might even like keep on working late nights, working throughout the weekends and things like that come, right? അപ്പോൾ ഒരു burn out feeling ഉണ്ടാവില്ലേ? So ആ ഒരു feeling വരുമ്പം like do you like suggest anything to actually avoid that, or like how do you cope up with that things?
Okay, there are two parts to that question. I would like to pick it up. So the first part you asked me, do I suggest? I do not suggest. What I all because there is enough and more documentation and educational materials around all of this all over the internet, and podcasts like you, where you have started something around it, and which is such a wonderful initiative. And there are many organizations or many articles around propagating a healthy sleeping pattern. And sleeping is also because obviously you need to have melatonin kicking in, you need to have your pituitary gland functioning properly. There's a lot of physiological needs also which need to be met if you got to get sleep, right? Because I know a friend of mine, and whose daughter has a sleep issue, can't sleep at all, and she has got a pituitary gland dysfunction. It's not that she doesn't want to sleep. So sometimes there are also physiological reasons why we do not sleep. And what happens is, over a period of time, when we push our brains and we push our system to such an extent that self care goes out of the primary focus, everything else becomes very shallow, and everything else becomes very rudimentary, and everything else becomes very short term, right? So I could have become an Einstein, but I may become actually only Vinitha. The point what I am saying here is, when you start up, or when you actually start up as an entrepreneur, or when you technically during my interactions, when people say I'm really busy, I don't have time to breathe, I hardly sleep, it's just 2 hours, we are in the starting phase of this whole thing, there's so much work I have to do. I keep telling them one thing, that in effect, your best part of your life is when you have this journey. You were a student, you became an adult, and you started taking decisions at the age of probably 22 or 23. Even though 18 is when you become an adult, right? But your right decisions come probably at the age of 22, 23, 25, let's say. And then that's when probably you are becoming a young entrepreneur. You're
Yes.
going to dealing with too many things at that point in time. You're going to deal with a problem, a solution, an innovation, money, team, hiring, blah, 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 investors, this, that, all this, right? Then how long are you going to be very happy there is probably till around, let's say, 45, 50, yeah, because your life starts bringing in more and more responsibilities to you, then it starts changing, dimensions start changing, and that's the beauty of the life, right? And when that really happens, you need to be really fit to adapt. And sleep is not a time which you think that you're wasting away at times. Only sleep can actually make you more productive and ready for the future. So it is not in that the whole idea of taking pride, saying that, oh, I'm so busy, I'm just sleeping only 2 hours a day, I have this happening, that happening. If you start taking pride on that, then probably you are not in the right direction in terms of looking at it as a long term strategy of being an entrepreneur. You're so short sighted, right?
Nice.
And without self care, you cannot care for others. And this is a saying, a lot of people do that, but it is a fact, right? മലയാളത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ പറയും ചുമരുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ചിത്രം എഴുതാൻ പറ്റൂ. ആ ചുവര് കറക്റ്റ് ആയിരിക്കണം. അതിൻ്റെ അർത്ഥം ഞാനത് പെർഫെക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നു എന്നല്ല കേട്ടോ നിതിൻ. അതല്ല, ഐ ആം നോട്ട് പെർഫെക്റ്റ് ഇൻ ദാറ്റ്. ബട്ട് we try to be there when we know something, and embracing that knowledge is very important at a very young age, very very young age. And I'm so glad that young entrepreneurs like you are talking about this, because I think it is so important, because we have other environmental pressures, peer pressure, comparison pressure, pressure of somebody else performing, fear of missing out, all of that is there loaded in our head. And also there is so much of an information which is poured into you all the time, you don't even know what to choose and what not to choose. How do you know when you don't even sleep? Your brain is not functioning at its optimum level, right? So
Very
sleep
true.
is the time which helps you to recuperate, right? We all know that. And I guess as youngsters, and just not youngsters, over a period of time it starts showing up in your mental health, in your physical health, in your emotional health. And then your decision making is impaired, you kind of starts affecting your family, your loved ones, your people around you. It's not easy at all. And when there is a need from you to stand up for something, you probably crumble at that time.
Mhm.
So you're building that story over a period of time to reach to a point that I can't take it anymore. So, and I do not suggest to them, I just show them what they are, and here is a thing what you can do. It is your choice whether you want to move from A to B or no.
Wow. That's great advice. That is definitely great advice. Like making
Yeah,
them, choosing their own, being responsible for the
yeah.
decisions itself, I think
Because no
gives them more.
advice is going to stick. If I advise you 100 times saying
Yeah,
don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, it's not going to stick. We know that. You need
definitely. I
to.
think a lot of people should uh, coach in that sense too, because in our ecosystem here, they also advise a lot of things, right? Ask us to go for being sustainable, doing things in this way or following this kind of formula for it. But then in reality, when it comes down, like everyone has their own experience and things, right? Regarding entrepreneurship itself. So it's about you taking decision and you owning up to it, right? If you're going to take the decision, then you should be able to follow through it and not just be like, I'm too much worked out and being too burned out into this particular stage of, my journey, right? Yeah. So before, like the first question I asked, like you say that you're able to keep yourself not too busy, right? You're able to prioritize many things in life and then go according to a schedule, I would think. So, in that term, like how would you advise us, right? Have a good work-life balance in terms of prioritizing things and being a bit more free.
This work life balance is a big myth. There is nothing called work life balance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing called work life. At the end of the day, it's one human being, whether it is Nitin or Ajit or Vinod or me or whoever it is, we all face this life in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Many people say don't take work back home, don't take your home issues back to work. It doesn't work. At the end, we are human beings and everything comes and hits one brain and one heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Yes, totally.
Yeah. How can I actually leave those thoughts and go to my work? I cannot. How can I leave my thoughts back from work not to bring it? I cannot push them outside my gate and come and sit here and saying, especially as an entrepreneur, it's just not possible.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can probably do is actually regulate myself in a certain way. When I say regulate, especially prioritization becomes very key, right? So when I come here and I'm attending to my parents or my pet or my friends, or I want to really spend time, if my intuitively I feel that this is the time I really want to just take that little rest, and this is the time when I really feel like connecting with people, and this is the time when I want to read, or this is the time when I feel like going out there and just dance, and maybe this is the time when I feel like calling somebody and just shouting at someone. It doesn't matter what you feel, right? But I guess following through that intuition brings in balance in life. And I wouldn't call it work life balance and all. There's nothing called work life balance.
Mm-hmm.
It is how you actually make yourself the most in any given amount of time. At the end, what are we doing all this for?
Yeah,
Can you tell
exactly.
me what are you doing all this for?
Just to get some peace over me after some time.
Peace never comes to you. Peace is a state of mind, right?
Yeah.
And tell me one person who's probably found that peace. I'm not too sure. Even Buddha probably got that, right? The point what I'm trying to say is it is a ever elusive thought process that we keep thinking that okay, there is peace everywhere. I will find peace. You will keep finding peace and then you pass off one day, right? The peace will never come to you. You will
Oh,
never.
yeah. That's the
It
cycle,
isn't
right?
what you do at this point in time. If I'm talking to you, Nidin, at this time and you're asking me questions, I am present 100% here with you. Whatever
Yes.
I am doing, I am in that activity or in that thought and in that whatever space I'm operating. I give my 100% there.
Mm-hmm.
Only 100%. You don't need to give 120%. Just give only 100% and put yourself at the center of it, which means that I am prioritizing myself there and I will do what I can. I'm not going to do what Nidin can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do what I can.
Yes, exactly.
That brings balance in life.
Mm-hmm.
That takes you away from fear of missing out.
Yeah.
That takes you away from quite a bit in terms of jealousy. That takes you away from comparative thinking, that takes you away from the peer pressure, that takes you away from, and obviously with all your I will never blame any social media anything. It is what it is, like I say, right? However, it is the consumption what we take unfortunately goes and hits in terms of saying so many advices, so many people saying do this, do that, do this, do that. At the end, what will work for us? Only what we can do will work for us.
Definitely. Yeah.
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 So
So, mm, yeah.
So, I personally do not think there is anything called work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is the balance of how you operate within yourself. And we are humans; we will make mistakes,
Yeah. 100%.
and it is in that mistake that actually we learn. We have to make mistakes. Idea is make mistakes, yet be very kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you
True.
say, oh, so bad, he's doing so well, she's doing so well, I'm not doing so well because I am not yet there, it is not being kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Being kind to yourself, okay, that person is doing well. Can I do something different? Not because that person is doing well, but can I do something to make myself better? Can I learn something new? Can I operate in a different frequency? Can I actually pick up something innovative to operate on? Am I pushing my potential to a limit where I can really operate from that level? Or am I still thinking, okay, this person is like that, I will become like that. That person is like that, I will become like that. It is never ending loop. I keep
Mm-hmm.
telling people that what I should not do is always an exhaustive list. But what you need to have in your mind is what I can do. It may be only one or two things, only focus on that.
Mm.
And then
Awesome.
it becomes your balance.
Mhm.
Your balance. You're not falling off the chair most of the time. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
I think you did the best answer I think I've heard till now, honestly. Because like
That's
this work-life balance, like is something that we were like starting to think from the first episode itself. We're talking on this particular topic because nowadays we can see, right, even my on batchmates are getting into placements and getting jobs, and they talk about the pressure over there, how much work they're doing, working all weekends, staying late nights, and we have even seen cases of how tragic these kind of things end. And many of the people who gets placed even might have their own issues, but at the end of the day, like as you said, if you cannot think in a way that we're not comparing others with ourselves, having that
we
kind
have
of peace
close
of
to
yourself, right?
80,000. The idea is close to 80,000 or 60,000 thoughts in a second or in a minute or whatever. How many of you would you choose? And
Yeah,
it can
yes.
be of work, it can be of my boyfriend, girlfriend, it can be of my family, it can be of a dog walking on the street, it can be a flower blooming in my garden. How much do I think? So my quality of thoughts depend on how much of self care and how much of kindness I show to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Yes,
I gotta be kind to myself. I have to tell, hey, Vinitha, this is what your capacity is. This is what you can do.
definitely.
Beyond, and your body will show up. Anxiousness, we know when our hands are tingling, we're sweating, we have a tickle behind our neck. All of that will tell us that we're anxious, right? The moment there is an anxious or you feel overwhelmed with something, I'm feeling that pressure. The body will tell you, hey, you're going through pressure. Shut down.
Mm.
Start listening to your body, start listening to yourself, and that will bring in balance. Balance doesn't come from outside, it comes from inside.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every emotion you get like an overwhelm as an emotion. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. I don't enjoy this podcast. I just want to get out of this. If I'm feeling that way, I will right now tell you that, hey, let's just stop here and I want to get out of this. Maybe we can connect later when I'm feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
That is self care. Not by pushing myself and saying, hey, I committed, I have to go through this. No, you don't need to go through it. Yeah.
Exactly.
That is a missing point.
Mm-hmm.
Because who are you trying to you know make peace with?
Definitely. That's like, having that kind of courage or self-love to
Ah,
talk, right? Speak up
there's
and
a
say
book
this.
called The
Yeah.
Courage to Be Disliked. It's a wonderful book.
Many
So
people like they just, go along with the flow. They just wanna not make any issue. Like they just wanna go with the flow, not make an issue, and then keep continue working in those kind of conditions. And yeah, that's why we see these kind of cases coming. People quitting or doing, going for worse ends. I think yeah, that was by far the best answer to work-life balance I've heard on podcast. So thank you for that, man. So regarding like, how did you like start into this entrepreneurship journey? Like, how did this journey entirely start? Where did it start from?
after my corporate, I think the last stint of my corporate, the day I joined, I remember calling my friend and telling this is going to be my last stint in corporate. And person asked, but why? You can still grow. I said, I don't think I can still grow because I've stagnated in my growth mentally. Yeah, maybe role wise I can still grow, I can become whatever, move wherever,
Mm-hmm.
wherever. But I think mentally I am done growing, right? And then the day I realized, it was at the last day I joined the workplace, and I realized I am not no more enjoying this entire thing of power play, the positions, the benefits what come with it, many of that, which I'm not saying corporate is a bad place. There are wonderful organizations where you can work with. If you know how to manage the powers and the politics in that place, you know how to wade through it, right? But it is not your cup of tea, not everyone's cup of tea, I would say. And my alternate thinking was that maybe I will do something called the freelancing, and obviously I just want to come back to the place where I was born and raised, which is Palakkad. And not many people advised against that to me, saying that what will you go there and do in that tier 3 place? Nobody even knows what you're doing, nobody understands what you're talking, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, and that seems to be a good opportunity. Now that
Mm-hmm.
nobody is knowing, the entire set of people can be my customers, so let me go, right? So, right,
That's
only
it.
there's no competition because nobody knows what I'm doing is a good space. So I
Mhm.
came here, and then I remember starting. I started as a freelancer, but then I realized that's not what I want to be. And all I did was HR strategy, growth strategy, a lot of things in corporate, so a lot of experience in that space. I came back, I started my company. I didn't know what to name the company. So then I picked up the colors of the company. A friend of mine likes blue and I like purple. And I'm like, okay, let's just add one blue purple. And then we started, we just named the company Bluepurple and just started something like that. And the point when we started there was mostly focused on HR and entrepreneurship journey for me. So a lot of people say it's very tough. It's for me. I think it is one space which has given me so much of content, right? It
Mhm.
because when I started in 2018, and from 2018 to 2019 or 2020, I focused a lot on HR consulting. I did what I know, but then there was deep inside also something telling me that I need to go beyond just seeing it as a business and
Mhm.
bring in more purpose, right? So it's always the reason also why I left corporate was I wanted to focus more on the purpose and not on really the money and the profit part of it. So when I came back and I started Bluepurple, I realized, am I becoming another corporate? Am I becoming another you know a person who is running behind leads, running behind customer access, running behind business revenues? And there's nothing wrong in that, and that's the way you do. Like yesterday somebody was telling business means money, right? I have a completely different thought process around it. I think it means money, obviously it needs money too, but I think it also needs a heart of gold, right? Because I think it is only in the entrepreneurship journey that you can empower yourself and you can empower others,
Cool.
right? And that is an absolutely wonderful space to operate if you have that in your mind. And it is never about yourself, it is about others and how you contribute to bring others to the limelight, or bring others to the forefront, or make others empowered around you. And I think that's the power of entrepreneurship. And sometimes I feel we need to talk more about it. And in that journey, the most important person is actually the entrepreneur himself or herself, right? And when it is that way, I'll go back to the first point again. When we started, self care becomes extremely important, because unless and otherwise you're caring for yourself, you really can't do anything for others. And it is a known fact, we all know it, but we never operate out of that theme. That's the sad part. We will talk about it, we will propagate about it, we'll say so much about it, but we will never operate out of that theme, because then the whole idea of pressure on entrepreneurship gets diluted. Everyone likes to tell that I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm like, I'm so much pressure, I'm running here, running there, my seed fund, my investor, my blah 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 blah. The narratives are different, and there is a whole PR pressure right now. Everyone needs PR, right? And then what happens is, in the whole thing, you dilute your purpose, your purpose of being an entrepreneur, your purpose of, it doesn't matter how much money you make. I mean, as long as you're on a positive side and you can take care of yourself. It also doesn't matter whether you have some failed customer access, you don't have a proper innovation, you don't have a problem you're solving. It's okay. I think it is important for us to still figure out where I can impact. If it is one person I can impact, that is the person I need to move towards. So entrepreneurship for me as a journey, when I started Blue Purple till 2020, I operated out of the revenue model. From 2020, 21, 22, when COVID hit, a lot of revelation come to you, right? So many
Yeah.
things we have as a belief system becomes real. And
Mhm.
when it becomes real, it hits you very hard. And then a personal transformational journey actually takes you through a completely different level of operating. And that's why I say there's nothing called work life thing kept separate, right? Because in 2021, 22, at that time frame, my dad fell sick and he had a stroke. And I remember I was I was really impacted by that because it was a very difficult time for all of us at that time. There was no people to support, and there was no one really to come with me to stay in the hospital or any of that. And that's when I keep going back to the whole point of saying two things I say. One, start asking for help shamelessly, right?
Yeah.
Ask for help shamelessly. And you can be an entrepreneur, you need not be an entrepreneur, whoever you are, start asking for help shamelessly, because my help came from someone who I never had a long term relationship with. My help came from someone who I knew for a very short period of time, who came running knowing I don't have support back in the hospital, because only one person can stay in the hospital due to, and it was COVID second wave. The person who was my team member, my erstwhile team member, came flying from Chennai to Trivandrum, took a car from Trivandrum to Palakkad, stay with my dad every night for 18 days, working out of the hospital during COVID times. And then that's when you realize that you got to ask, and then only you get it. And second thing, when you ask for help, as much as you have the right to ask for help, the other person has a right to deny that help too. Most of us take it very personally, and then we think, oh, this person is not helping, this is why I don't go and ask for help to anyone. No, 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 no. Very, very bad idea, right?
Mhm.
You go back and asking for help again and again and again, maybe not to that person but another person, but don't take it on you. That's one learning I have had in this journey, which I incorporated in my entrepreneurship journey. That's why I'm
Mhm.
telling that. The second point, what I'm trying to say is this, right? Meaningful relationships becomes, it kinds of plays a very important role in the most critical stage of life. And it is important when you are in the deepest of your miserable space, that somebody will show up, and the person who will show up is usually the one who you have connected very meaningfully with, the person who you probably would have listened to, the person who you would have showed a genuine interest to, the person you would have had who you would have had an intention to keep that connection going.
Mhm.
So I'm not talking about a platonic connection or a connection at a very surface level. I'm talking about a genuine connection. Someone where I see this person as a human and that person sees me as a human. And that is a connection which will stand by you when you are really in a difficult situation. Need not be a friend, need not be a family, but someone who you have connected very meaningfully. And I think it is the intelligence and the wisdom that we need to pick up as we grow, how to make those connections and how to keep those connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are the two things which moved from my personal space to my workspace, to my entrepreneurship journey, where I started something called coaching.
Hmm. I was just
Yeah.
about to ask
I
that. How did you
transitioned
get into
from a,
coaching? Yeah.
yes, so as I transitioned, I used to be a coach, but then I took it very seriously after this whole experience. And that is also when I started getting introduced to Kerala Startup Mission. And then
Mhm.
I focused on building meaningful connections. I focused on connecting with people with a purpose and not really thinking, what am I going to get out of it? That's never the thought I have had in my mind. You can call it a shrewd business person always knows who your customer is. But for me, I look at the other way. I think if you are a purposeful business person, your customers will actually come your way.
Mhm.
You don't need to scheme all the time. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So it is a very permeable situation, your personal and your work life and your entrepreneurship journey. When I say permeable, one flows from one to the other. It doesn't stay in silos.
Yeah.
And so important for us to understand that gives us balance. And that keeps it as peace. The peace you are looking for.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Vinod sir, do you want to ask anything?
Shoot.
Okay, I'll probably kind of switch gears and ask more uh, from some of those coaching sessions, but through that, I think you have this opportunity to meet with many people from different backgrounds, different professions, right?
Yeah.
Um, what's the common pain point that you have heard from those conversations? Like, is there any one, two, three that you consistently hear? And a follow-up to that is like, in that, do you felt probably they could have done better if they probably would have taken care of themselves better? Those issues or scenarios that they are in wouldn't have happened. They would have dealt differently. As simple as when I said taking care, as simple as they would have slept better.
Yeah, I know the point you're driving towards. Okay, so the point, and what came up to me as you asked this question is one common thread I see on people who come to me or come to anyone for that matter for coaching or counseling or any of that space is that they are all very courageous people. Yeah, and they have it takes a lot of courage to actually face yourself. It's not easy to go and tell someone who you do not know that these are my issues and these are my real issues and these are things which I am not able to tell anyone, but I'm going to tell you. That takes a lot of courage. So one thing I always tell is anyone who goes for this kind of an intervention are very courageous people. They know and they have an intention to set themselves in the right route, right? So that's a point I would start with, to your question. The second pattern I've seen in most of them as I wouldn't call it a problem, but an area most of them would like to work on. And there are two things here. One is we probably do not operate at the level of listening deeply to each other. Yeah, and a lot of issues spring out of that. We do not listen. We have a problem that I am more keen in telling what I want to tell rather than listening to the other person in the whole sense of it. So something like where we say, you listen to, I mean, typically if we take an example, we go to a doctor. We like to go back to a doctor who would actually listen to our problems and not someone who will see you and give you the prescription the second moment, right? That may be probably qualified more than the first doctor. Then you would really don't want to go to that doctor, how much of a qualification that person has, because you know that this person has not really listened to me, right? And then so there are four levels of listening, and the fourth level of listening is generative listening. When you say generative listening, you are listening to somebody in their whole sense of it, and I think that is one problem people come with, because they don't have an ecosystem, be it in their families, be it in their friends, be it in whoever, wherever they are. Nobody wants to listen to them. Yeah, before even they complete, somebody is going to advise them what to do. Second, before even they complete, they're being judged. I am marked somewhere. You're good, you're bad, you're ineffective, you're unprofessional, you're super professional, you're doing fantastic. Even that is judgment, right? So there's nothing called a non-judgmental space somebody can go and speak to, and that's a pattern I have seen. Now I'll tell you how does this contribute to the entire space of self-care. When I don't have anyone to listen to me, my deepest of what I feel, it stays on the surface level for me as a thought, right? And it keeps coming back to me again and again and again. And one of the outcomes of it is that I start thinking about that a lot, and it has an impact on my emotional levels. And my emotional levels actually also have a deep impact on my hormonal system, right? And how does that also happen? Most of them try to cope with a lot of abuse to themselves. It can be substance abuse, it can be eating very sporadically, it can be many coping mechanisms, because I don't have someone who I can sit and tell my problems or talk about something what I want to. And most of us are not looking for solutions. We just want somebody to listen to us. That's it. So if somebody is coming and telling you, unless they ask for a solution, don't even give them a solution. If they ask, give the solution. Don't give them. They just want to be heard. I just want to talk. Don't judge me. I just want to talk, right? And then it has a deeper impact into everything including your food habits, including your substance habits, including your habits of sleep, including your habits of exercise, everything related to that. And then in a way it also starts impacting your brain, and then starts your whole circadian rhythm going for a toss. Then you do not know how to align with it, and then you kind of move into a space where you do not know whether it is night or day. You get into that zone of, like we initially talked about, impaired decision making. You make wrong people friends, you make wrong decisions, you're in a constant jugglery of things, and you want to escape, you want to run away from things, you don't want to face anything. So it's like a baggage, like a rack picker, right? You have 5 kg, you can carry 10 kg, slight bend, 15 kg difficult, 20 kg you're flat on the road, you do not run, you can't even walk 1 inch further. What will your system do? Where will I keep this rag? I need to put it somewhere, no? I need to know where to put it. So I guess that is a pattern I have seen. And then of course one of the pattern which emanates out of it, I always think your sleep deprivation is an outcome of many of your unhealthy handling of your emotions and thoughts, right? And unless it's a physiological issue. But mostly I think over a period of time it is about not handling yourself in a proper way over a period of time, and not even taking help is the biggest problem. Like we know that there are sleep doctors available. How many of us go and meet sleep doctors? There are people available who are specialized on sleep, who can tell you how to sleep better. People who can tell you, okay, go meditate, do yoga. Not easy to change your lifestyle, right? Because again it comes as an advice. Why should I even listen to you? Like somebody was asking me this afternoon, I was talking to a person, and that person was asking me, okay, I go to a therapy, the therapist will me, don't think this way, think that way. But how can I just start thinking that way? I cannot, and that is the reason why I'm asking, how do I do it? It's a good question to ask. And that is why we have something called a coaching, where we talk about, we ask your deeper belief systems, you talk about your deeper thought process, your iceberg model, which is emotions, your feelings, and then you pull it up and up and up and address that which is lying deep rooted, right? And then you allow that person. It's called autonomy. I have an autonomy to change myself if I want to. And then you move to actually and automatically what gets fixed is your eating habits, your sleeping habits, your daily routine. Because you're not addressing this directly, you're addressing something else which is actually triggering all of this. Yeah, so I don't know if I answered, Vinod, but that's what came to my mind when you asked that question.
No, a couple of points did come out, right? I mean, especially you talking about some of those sleep coaches or experts, right? I mean, how many people even
Sleep
know?
doctors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doctors and all, right? So, how many people even know about it, right? And they know that, okay, we can go and access something like that. That's a good thing. I think a lot of people aren't aware. As I said, the whole sleep thing itself is people don't consider it as something, some issue, right?
Yeah.
They probably see it as, okay, that just happens, but 1/3 of your life you actually sleep, right? That's ideally the case, but we don't give much attention to it. The other thing I wanted to ask is about, in connection to what we just discussed, when people come and talk to you about these, like, do you find a difference in this way, the issues in terms of what people are sharing with you in the early career versus like somebody who's in a senior role, in terms of what is really impacting them in some of the coaching sessions? Is it more in terms to do with a particular profession, or is it more in terms of the span of control that one deals with?
I'm thinking. Okay, when people come to me for coaching, problems are very different. Problems are different. One would say, I am not a great leader, I don't like people management. The other would say, I don't understand how to delegate. Some may say, I know delegation, but then I don't understand how to talk to people. and it all gets defined based on the role you play in the organization. So at an entry level, you have issues like, I can't adjust with a new place. I just came out of a college. I'm still in that college vibe, and then I'm now here asked to work 8 hours a day, sit in one place, and talk to everyone with a lot of respect, and it becomes a problem. It becomes a pressure to yourself, right? But at the end of the day, I think the problems may be different, but most of the times your basic need doesn't change. Your need which comes out of because at the end we say we don't coach problems, we coach person, right? We coach the person who is coming to us. So
Yeah.
it's not a solution to a problem, it's a solution to how this person is functioning. Is this person functioning at an optimal level? And I think as humans we have some basic understanding of how we function over a period of time, and I guess that gets very most of the times it is very common, because we are human beings somewhere related to each other, and we all belong to one spectrum and one universe. And I think at the basic level our building blocks remains the same, right? Your DNA may be different, but the way we function remains the same. There is an energy which flows, and I guess that makes us bring out our problems in a very similar fashion compared to the problems we bring out from the role perspective or the perspective of my profession. So as an entrepreneur, I have a problem of not really understanding my issues, and that's putting pressure on me. I don't know how to acquire a customer, and that's putting pressure on me. As a student, you may say, I don't know what to do next, that is putting pressure on me. I don't know where to go with my entrepreneurship thing, that's putting pressure on me. But at the end of the day, what are you dealing with?
Yes, sir.
Pressure.
Pressure.
Pressure makes you feel the same way for most of the people. Yes or no? Whether I am 20-year-old or a 60-year-old, it makes you feel almost the same way. The outcomes are very similar. The problems are only a gateway or a window to get to know the person. So, to the question what Vinod asked, do I see difference in the kind of problems they are bringing in table? Yes, there are differences based on the role, the age, the circumstances, the life situations they are in. But are these problems are all very, very despair and different when it comes to addressing them? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. So let's just ask like a general thing, right? So like, what kind of a sleeper are you? Are you like a deep sleeper? Are you a light sleeper?
So, being a woman, I think it is also important to tell you that you go through a lot of physiological changes, right?
Yeah.
And it is one thing of where you go through your menstrual cycle, you go through birthing a child, you go through a perimenopause, you go through a menopausal cycle, and your physiological changes brings out a lot of hormonal impact, and it also in turn actually impacts your sleep, right? And how much ever you take care of yourself, how much ever you really want to do some good practices, it becomes like that. So for me, I am somebody who is going through a perimenopause stage at my age, yeah, and it has its own difficulty which comes through. If you guys understand what it is physiologically, it means my periods are going to stop over a period of time, and for a woman it starts from probably somewhere at a 45 43 years old, and it goes on till it stops, where you have a lot of hormonal imbalances which goes through your progesterone, your testosterone levels goes up and down, right? And a lot of things related to that. Your melatonin may not work properly, your omega-3 may diminish, your vitamin D may not be optimally functioning. So because all these are interrelated. So for someone like me, if you ask that question, I am a deep sleeper, I would like to say so. But there are days for me when I really don't sleep well. And that is not because intentionally I don't do any practice to sleep well, because there are these things, accompanying factors, which also has an impact to the sleep. And over a period of time, it kind of, some days that when you get up in the morning after a bad sleep, that you feel very tired and you really don't want to do much, no energy. So you go back to sleep again for some
Yeah.
time. That's what I do, right? Like I said, I don't care. The moment my body says it's not pulling, just stop. Even if in my office, I'll take a cat nap. 15 minutes nap I will take. I don't care who calls, who comes, nothing. I'll put my leg up on the table on a chair and I'll go to a deep sleep, 15 minutes, But that sleep is more than enough for me. So, sleep is a trouble for me at this age, to the question, because of all these issues, what I said. But intentionally, I love sleeping. It's like a
I
hobby
see.
for me, so it works. Yeah.
So have you used any kind of sleeping aids, any kind of, like pillows or something that
No, no, no. I
can?
don't use any sleeping aids. I only take care of couple of things. One is obviously I will ensure that my room is temperature controlled. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, and that's something which I ensure happens. I also I had a bad habit of keeping my mobiles next to me. Very bad habit, quite many years back. Then over a period of time, I think I have decided to keep that at a 6 feet away level. So I keep it away most of the days, unless and otherwise there is some emergency. I would, as I know from my family or something, if there is an emergency, I would get a call. I need to wake up in the middle of the night or something. I'll keep it an arm's distance. But otherwise, usually it is out 6, 7 feet in the next room, so that I don't really get the blink of it. And what I also do is that I journal before I sleep. I do write a
Mhm.
gratitude journal before I sleep.
Journal.
Yes, I do journaling, and that's been there for quite some time. Most of the days, I ensure I journal. I write down, I reminisce what happened through the day, and that will be 3 or 4 levels of gratitude I have for the day. Yeah, which I tell I'm as rudimentary, not rudimentary, as important as being grateful to spend the whole day without any sickness, right? Or feeling like yesterday we went for that entrepreneurship program, and I was writing in my journal, and I'm so glad I met so many of my good friends and new people, right? And it's a way of telling yourself, and I think it also releases your good hormones when you do a gratitude journal, and that kind of in a way helps you to keep your well-being at an optimal level, and it also helps you to actually automatically go to sleep, because you're reviving your parasympathetic nervous system, and your body is calming down when you do that. Yeah. And so two things I write is obviously on gratitude, and the second one something called random act of kindness. It's like without even expecting anything, have I done something today to ensure that I'm just randomly being kind to someone? Like maybe I'm driving on a road and I see someone waiting to cross the road. I stop my car so that that person can cross the road. I don't even know the person, but it's a random act of kindness, and you feel happy that you gave way to someone, right? So these are some practices I've been following for quite some time, and I think those are things which has kind of helped me to at least manage my sleep through the physiological changes I'm going through.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's not aggravating the symptoms or aggravating the issues which comes with your perimenopause.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
That was really cool. That was really cool to hear. Like journaling part, like I was thinking, like first guest who's saying things like that, right? Like journaling itself, I think it's form of self love, right? I think it brings that into the whole play. So,
journaling is
what kind of, yeah.
actually for your own self. It is
Mhm.
not for others. It's for your own
Exactly.
self, right? And I guess it keeps you grounded.
Mhm.
It keeps you, it tells you how fragile you are as a human being.
True. So, what kind of environment do you like to sleep in? Do you sleep in a like a really cool environment with lights
No, no, no.
off,
I
music?
optimum temperature is usually 24 degrees, so I keep my temperature at 24, and yeah, I'm fine at 24. I always think that's a nice temperature to sleep, and my body is managed. I have a little elevated body temperature sometimes, because one of the symptoms of perimenopause is also you get hot flash, which means suddenly your body temperature rises,
Oh,
and then you start sweating. You guys should
like,
know all this. It is important. So that's why I'm talking about it here. Not a taboo topic at all. You need to know,
mhm.
right? Even if it's an opposite sex, we go through a lot of things, and as men, you should know about it. So we have a lot of hot flash. We get mood swings. All of that happens at that point in time.
Mhm.
So hot flash is something which will elevate my temperature suddenly, and I start sweating. So that's why also the 24 degrees is very important for me.
I see.
23 to 24 I keep it, so that in the night that doesn't disturb my sleep. but yet
Mm.
it disturbs you sometimes, but it's okay. Yeah.
Mm. I see. Right.
Yeah.
So anytime, like, have you experienced things like, sleep talking, lucid dreaming, anything like that? You know?
No sleep talking and all. I don't know. Maybe somebody I'm angry with in the morning, I may be shouting in the night. I don't know. I don't know. My daughter says sometimes that I do talk, but then she may be also fabricating the whole thing just to pull my legs. But I don't remember vividly sleep talking and all that. Dreams, obviously, yes. All of us dream, no? All of
Talking
us
about
dream.
lucid
So.
dreaming, have you heard about lucid dreaming where you have this kind of control in your dream that you know you're dreaming and then you can control the entire environment?
Yeah, yeah, I know that. There is one dream. I think most of us probably go through that dreaming phases where you get caught in that cobweb where this is spider. I don't know whether you feel that. That's one dream where I always have gone to. That there is
Ah,
a cobweb and I get caught in that cobweb, and that cobweb I'm trying to get out of, and then I control that so much not to get fallen into that cobweb. So, and I remember this vividly from very young age, and I know the reason why I used to get that dream too, and over a period
oh,
of time I've realized where does it originate from, right? And obviously it's your deep belief systems and your experiences of probably insecurity, probably not feeling very safe. All of that contributes to your part of
mm,
that, because it's your subconscious mind and your deep conscious states which gets very active when you are in REM or when you are in deep sleep, right? So it is where you have those involuntary movements on your body. You're like
mm,
holding on to your bed, thinking you're going to fall off. All of that happens, yeah. Of course it happens. I'm a human, yeah. Come on, I love me to go through all of that. I do, yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, we'll reach the limits in our recording and things. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having us and, taking your time of your day and coming to the podcast. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nidin. Thank you for
Yes.
inviting me. Thank you for the nudge. It was a good
Yeah.
conversation. I enjoyed.
Good.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.
സ്ലീപ്പ് പോഡ്കാസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ ഈ പുതിയ എപ്പിസോഡ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇതേപോലെ നിങ്ങൾക്കും പോഡ്കാസ്റ്റിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കണമെന്ന് ആഗ്രഹമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷനിൽ കൊടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഗൂഗിൾ ഫോം ഫില്ല് ചെയ്താൽ മതി. സോ സീ യു ഗൈസ് ഓൺ ദ നെക്സ്റ്റ് എപ്പിസോഡ്.